Welcome back to my channel. The Palestinian resistance continued its operation against the Israeli occupation forces in the Gaza Strip, destroying 2 tanks and a troop carrier and shelling its soldiers in more than one area. We'll talk about this more in details, and then I will also share with you a video clip from Larry C. Johnson, who is a former CIA analyst. He's a political commentator. He basically mentioned in his video that Israel is getting wiped out by Hezbollah and that they're facing, IDF is facing defeat very, very soon that will manifest in the form of IDF withdrawing its forces from Lebanon and also perhaps from Gaza. Let's start with this first. I want to actually share with you. So this is the video that you will hear from Larry C. Johnson that Hezbollah wipes out Israeli forces. So I'll make a commentary from that particular video. But let's talk about what is happening at the moment on the ground by the Palestinian forces. So Al-Qassam Brigades, the military wing of Palestinian resistance movement Hamas, said it targeted an Israeli troop carrier with a tandem shell near the Al-Amin Mosque, east of Jabalia refugee camp in the northern Gaza Strip. Guys, this is important for us. Why? Because Israel, they have tried 4 times in the past to take control of the Jabalia refugee camp, and they failed each time. Now in that area, they are coming under constant attack by Hamas. In other words, they cannot beat Hamas even in and around the Jabalia refugee camp. How they can beat Hamas in Gaza? Unbelievable. Gaza is much bigger than the Jabalia refugee camp. I want to play this video from Larry C. Johnson. Take a look at what he's saying when he mentions about Hezbollah wiping out Israeli forces. Take a listen.
Yeah, and number one, that he recognized Gaza has become another trap for Israel. Yeah, they're not having a lot of people killed every day, but on the Israeli side, but there's still a number of wounded. It's draining resources. It's one thing to drain resources if you're resource rich. Israel is not. Israel does not have a wealth of manpower and military equipment to fall back on. And so when you get into a war of attrition, such as taking place in Gaza, it's imposing stresses on the military that are resulting in suicides among troops, people refusing to show up for service because they are a reserve force and they depend on reservists. The Netanyahu's refusal to allow a full investigation of the October 7th attack, how that was allowed to happen. And then, the combination of what's going on in southern Lebanon.
Let's talk about a little bit about the war of attrition. We have seen Russia asking North Korean troops to fight in Ukraine. Why? When you go on a long war, you cannot use only your military alone. In history, that never happened. For example, United States, during the Korean War, during the Vietnam War, they had to hire troops from outside US. Even in Gaza right now, they are resorting to farms, mercenary farms, conducted by CIA to help them with those biometric screenings of the people of Gaza. In other words, your military in of itself is not enough to continue on with this war. Why? Because when you do that, if you force them to fight for your country for so long, at one point, either they will start rebelling against the government or they will commit suicide. And this is exactly what is happening with the Zionist IDF forces. They're taking their own lives. Why? Because it is becoming unbearable. One thing is going for a war for a month or maybe 6 months. Another thing is doing it over and over and over and again, and seeing at the same time your fellow soldier is dying. A lot of them, their limbs are getting blown off. A lot of them are suffering mentally. So when these other soldiers who are supposed to be healthy and new on the ground, they are getting sick too, very fast, very rapidly. Let's take a listen what Larry is saying. He's, again, a former analyst for CIA. He's a political commentator, and this guy has a lot of knowledge.
Pushing forward, I mean, they barely advanced, and they keep getting they're suffering significantly more casualties in southern Lebanon than they did in Gaza. And that's simply because they're up against a better army. Hezbollah is a real army. Hamas isn't.
Or they advance.
Absolutely. Hamas is not a real army. But again, take a look at what is happening right now. As I have just shared with you this news of Hamas blowing or giving Israel the hardest time possible with the military casualties, the IDF casualties in Gaza. So Al-Qassam Brigade said, for example, that in conjunction with Omar Al-Qassam Brigades, they shelled with mortars Israeli forces in the southeast of Shazaya neighborhood of Gaza City. We also have to remember, guys, during this war in Gaza, Israel has lost, IDF, Israeli terrorist forces, they have lost more high-ranking officers in Gaza than they have lost in Lebanon. Obviously, we do not still know the scale of casualties of IDF forces in Lebanon. But so far, the information that we have and the information that was being confirmed by IDF itself shows that more high-ranking officers were getting killed and still getting killed in Gaza than in Lebanon. What does it mean? It means that even if they send their best of the best, they cannot defeat Hamas in Gaza. Al-Qassam Brigades also broadcast images of its fighters targeting a Markava tank in the vicinity of the Khazandar area northwest of Gaza City. For its part, Al-Quds Brigades announced that its fighters destroyed a Markava tank by detonating a high-explosive Taqib device near Barqat Abu Rashid in the center of Jabalia camp. The report that I have shared with you in my last videos, or I think a week ago, Markava tanks and tanks that are being used, including the bulldozers, they are coming under so many attacks that Israel is now outsourcing companies to repair these tanks. They do not have any more left. They have used up all of their military vehicles. They have used up a lot of those tanks and shells and bombs that were sent to them by Genocide Joe. They need even more, but they're facing shortages every single day. To make things worse for them, now we know what Spain is doing. They have blocked 2 ships, United States ship, going to Israel with arms supply. We will share that particular news in a second, but I just wanted to show you guys how bad the situation is right now for the Zionist forces. The group also reported that they fired mortar shells at a position of Israeli soldiers on the supply line in the Netzarim axis in the central Gaza Strip. So again, repeated attack and targeted attack. These are well pre-planned. They are not haphazard as you would expect, because right now Hamas should be dismantled. They should be running for their lives. Instead, we are seeing more organized attack, pre-planned attack by Hamas. What is happening with IDF or ITF is something more than disaster. Okay, so let's actually share this news a little bit more, and then I will make or add some more comments.
In the southern part of Lebanon.
They're trying, but no, they're not making steady advances at all. They move forward, and then they get stopped, and then they move backwards. I know last night they're trying to get on top of some hill, and the bulldozer was destroyed, and then a tank was destroyed by Hezbollah. So, they've no telling how many Israelis were killed and wounded in that affair. And then, they keep saying, oh, yeah, we've taken out Hamas or Hezbollah's rockets. And they continue to fire rockets into Israel, at a pretty high rate. And then the Houthis also launched a ballistic missile last night at the Nevatim Air Force Base. No report on the damage, if any was done there, but it's just a reminder, Israel's not in control. They can't stop the Houthis, they can't stop Hezbollah, and they can't stop Hamas.
Period. What they are now going to do, well, as Netanyahu was praying and, getting really unhinged about U.S. election, who will win, he was obsessed. He was always, I believe, watching news. He didn't like Kamala Harris because she did not even have any plan. But, of course, he wanted his buddy, his friend, best friend, he called him best friend, Donald Trump, in power. Now, the only way out for Israel is getting U.S. involved in this war directly. No help, no shipment. We don't need those things anymore. We need your soldiers. We need you to get involved with us. You fight our war. But do you think Donald Trump will be so stupid to do that? I don't think so, but possible. But I think it is possible. Nevertheless, we still have to wait and see what happens. Recently, let's talk about the situation between Spain and Israel at the moment. As I have said, guys, Spanish government, they have the government has denied docking permission to 2 U.S.-bound cargo vessels suspected of carrying weapons for Israel. On November 7th, Spanish Foreign Minister spokesperson told the Daily El País that the vessels Maersk Denver, which departed from New York on October 31st, and Maersk Ritter, which left on November 4th, will not stop in Spain. Stop in Spain. Now, there is another report that suggests, and this investigation was done by Progressive International and the Palestinian Youth Movement, PYM, and when they did their investigation, they found out that Spain, they have allowed 25 U.S. arms shipments bound for Israel. Okay, stopped at the port of Algeciras between May and September. So Spanish port was used 25 times by U.S. arms shipments, according to this two party who did the investigation. But the good news is Spanish government did not know anything about this. And they said that we are going to have some action taken against anybody who helped these ships to dock in Spain. The government is very, very strict with this. A foreign ministry spokesperson responded to the investigation saying, quote, "We are reviewing this information, how these ships docked, 25 ships in Spain, with the ministries responsible for controlling goods entering the national territory. Hopefully they will get to the bottom of it." And then they said, if confirmed, if we find anybody responsible, we'll take all the necessary measures. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has repeatedly urged tighter controls to ensure compliance with this policy, the ministry added. This is coming also at a time when France, they have sent 30 tons of emergency supply to Lebanon. France has summoned the Israeli ambassador the other day over the detention of its, I think it's a reporter in Jerusalem. In other words, this is beyond just talking the talk for some countries. It is now taking action. France is finally doing something, even though we know that at the end of the day, France is a good friend of US and UK. But now we are seeing some of the countries are actually taking action, unlike the Muslim so-called Arab states and Turkey doing absolutely nothing. Why they are so afraid of Israel is beyond me. I don't know. But these countries, France, Spain, and Maldives, they have cut ties officially, all kind of ties with Israel. So Maldives is a Muslim country, and we know also Malaysia is also talking the talk, doing really nothing much. We need to take action, guys. We need to also at the same time keep boycotting those products, Zionist products, because the boycott is working and Israel is losing its economy. The economy is bleeding. They do not have military power anymore. They're becoming a pariah state and they're becoming absolutely helpless. we need to keep doing our part, which is boycotting Israeli Zionist product that has blood on it, and teach them a lesson that you will not get away with this genocide. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.